for joining. So we'll just continue on with our Bhagavatam, where Arjuna is experiencing deep grief. Sometimes when we come into spiritual life, we think it's the end of all anxiety and all grief. And Prabhupada says that actually this anxiety is the pinnacle of Krishna consciousness. When Mother Yashoda is churning butter for Krishna, and when she sees Krishna being troubled by so many demons, then she's constantly in anxiety. So someone may say, well, why should I give up material anxiety and take on spiritual anxiety? But this is a mystery or confidential nature of bhakti, that the anxiety of this material world burns our heart. The spiritual anxiety actually brings us closer to Krishna, and we experience the sweetness of Krishna through that anxiety. Right? No anxiety, no love.
Yeah.
And that's what Prabhupada did. He took up so many headaches for Krishna's satisfaction. And so here we see that Arjuna is experiencing tears, he's experiencing grief. And, one may say that, well, my goodness, this sounds pretty bad. But actually, in that grief, that's actually the height of, as Lord Chaitanya came to teach us, right? That these feelings of separation and anxiety is what he came to offer us as being the highest manifestation of bhakti. Is it not?
It is true. Om
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatho Jaya Mudire Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki.
Why am I not able to see the windows to share? Okay. Do you see the verses? Okay.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Did we do this?
No.
Prane tad bhagavata ishwarasya vicheshtitam mitho nignanti bhutani bhavayanti chayanmitah.
Factually, this is all due to the supreme will. We did this, the personality of God. Sometimes people kill one another, and at other times they protect one another. Let's continue. Yeah, we did this.
Jalokasam jale yadvan mahanto danti niyasha durbalan balino rajan mahanto balino mitaha evam balisthe yadubhir mahadbhir itaran vibhu yadun yadubhir annonyam bhubharan sanjaharaha.
O king, as in the ocean, the bigger and stronger aquatics swallow up the smaller and weaker ones, so also the supreme personality of Godhead, to lighten the burden of the earth, has engaged the stronger Yadu to kill the weaker and the bigger Yadu to kill the smaller. So hard to understand this. Should we read this? Let's see how Prabhupada is explaining it.
Yeah.
In the material world, the struggle for existence and survival of the fittest are laws, because in the material world there is disparity between conditioned souls due to everyone's desire to lord it over the material resources. This very mentality of lording it over material nature is the root cause of conditioned life. And to give facility to such imitation lords, the illusory energy of the Lord has created a disparity between conditioned living beings by creating the stronger and the weaker in every species of life. The mentality of lording it over the material nature and the creation has naturally created a disparity, and therefore the law of nature of existence, and therefore the law of struggle for existence. In the spiritual world, there is no such disparity, nor is there such a struggle for existence. In the spiritual world, there is no struggle for existence because everyone there exists eternally. There is no disparity because everyone wants to render service to the Supreme Lord, and no one wants to imitate the Lord in becoming the beneficiary. The Lord, being the creator of everything, including the living beings, factually is the proprietor and enjoyer of everything that be. But in the material world, by the spell of Maya or illusion, this eternal relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is forgotten. And so the living being is conditioned under the law of struggle for existence and survival of the fittest.
Beautiful. The first time I fully understand why Krishna has created this disparity and the weaker and the smaller. Then we find that God is unfair by
Mm.
creating somebody weak and somebody strong.
Mm.
Then what is the fault of the weak?
Mm.
But I guess everybody is in the same pool. Everybody wants to be there. Even the weaker person is also trying to be the imitation Lord. And therefore, this disparity is created, which basically creates the struggle for material existence, struggle for survival. Beautifully explained.
Yeah, in that sense, like in one sense, you could say that, the perpetrator and the victim, they are both victims of this conditioning of material nature.
And they are also perpetrators.
And they're all both perpetrators also. There's actually a nice little pastime where one time there was this one devotee, Prabhupada's disciple. He was traveling with Prabhupada, and somehow Prabhupada's baggage didn't arrive at the airport. So then, so the devotees came and they took Prabhupada and they told him, and this was after I think a long flight, 20-hour flight or something, 20-hour flight. And so the devotees came and took Prabhupada away. And then this devotee was now left at the airport so that he could take care of the luggage, find out what happened. And so finally he gets the luggage, and then he somehow gets into a cab, and then he drives to the temple. As he enters into the temple, he sees that the devotees had just finished their last spoon of sweet rice, and all the prasadam was finished. And he was exhausted, he was tired, he was hungry, and there was no more prasadam. And now Prabhupada's room was at the top, and now he has to take that bag and he has to take it all the way. And all the brahmacharis, they said, oh, we are so we just had such a big full lunch, we cannot really help out or whatever. So he had to take those bags, and as he was doing that, he was so upset and fried out. He put the bags there, and Prabhupada was there, and Prabhupada immediately noted, that he's so Prabhupada said, so much struggle for existence in this material world, but when you go back to the spiritual world, everything will be sublime and easy. And this devotee was telling this, that in the material world, just to do anything.
That's Indradumna Swami, right?
I think it was Indradumna Swami, right?
Yes.
Who today is an amazing devotee who has been serving Prabhupada so wonderfully. So anyways, just thought of that
see the struggle we don't have to face in the spiritual world.
Yeah, and if you are experiencing the struggle in the material world, I find that a lot, that anything that you want to do in this material world, it's just constant. It's like an uphill climb. And it's not because of anything else. It's because of the very nature of this, this world.
So the next two verses are very important, because here we'll see Arjuna remembering how he relieves his great pain and separation he's feeling by remembering Krishna's instructions, the Bhagavad Gita. So the Bhagavad Gita's importance comes in these two verses. Desha kalartha yuktani hitatapo shamani cha haranti smaratas chittam govindabhitani me.
Now I'm attracted to those instructions imparted to me by the personality of Godhead Govinda, because they are impregnated with instructions for relieving the burning heart in all circumstances of time and space.
We should read some of this purport. It's very powerful. Yeah. The merciful Lord left behind him the great teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, so that one can take the instructions of the Lord even when he is not visible to material eyesight. Material senses cannot have any estimation of the Supreme Lord, but by inconceivable power, the Lord can incarnate himself to the sense perception of the conditioned souls in a suitable manner through the agency of matter, which is also another form of the Lord's manifested energy. Thus, the Bhagavad Gita, or any authentic scriptural sound representation of the Lord, is also the incarnation of the Lord. There is no difference between the sound representation of the Lord and the Lord himself. One can derive the same benefit from the Bhagavad Gita as Arjuna did in his personal presence of the Lord.
So this is actually a very important part, right? A very important understanding for us, that when Arjuna is experiencing this deep separation from Krishna and he's feeling completely bereft, then where is he taking shelter? He's taking shelter of the spiritual sound vibration. He's taking shelter of the Bhagavad Gita, which are these instructions that he had received, right? So this is what we are trying to do.
Taking shelter of the sound vibration and always being united with Krishna. It's not like a future goal, but whenever we come together and hear about Krishna, discuss about Krishna, we are united with Krishna. Krishna is, at least, we may not be fully present, but Krishna is fully present.
I like that a lot. We may not be fully present, but Krishna is fully present in that sound.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. Very nice. That's gone.
Sutta vacha evam chintayato jishno Krishna pada saroruham sohedayanati gadhena shanta shidvimalamati.
Sutta Goswami said, thus being deeply absorbed in thinking of the instructions of the Lord, which were imparted in the great intimacy of friendship, and in thinking of his lotus feet, Arjuna's mind became pacified and free from all material contamination. So it's the same thing for us. Like whenever we are feeling disturbed and we are feeling overwhelmed, or we are feeling like we cannot go through life anymore, if we simply just take out the time to just hear the sound vibration, then our mind will become pacified.
What a powerful remedy, right?
What a powerful remedy. Have you had experience of that? When you have been like in this throes of difficulty and then,
Yeah, so many times it always works. Just hearing about Krishna from devotees, it really acts as a sponge. It soaks up all pain and all anxiety.
It does, right? And sometimes like it's even happened that when you're going through some difficulty and then you pick up the Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's as if the purport was written, as if the purport is speaking to you at that particular moment, whatever you're going through. And then you know that this is actually something living. This is not just words on a paper, but there is, it's this is a living voice speaking to you, right? It's quite amazing.
Vasudevangri anudhyana parirambitaram hasa bhaktya nirmathitat desha kashayaya dhishano Arjuna.
Arjuna's constant remembrance of the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna rapidly increased his devotion, and as a result, all the trash in his thoughts subsided.
This is a beautiful purport.
Material desires in the mind are the trash of material contamination. Let's look at this line again.
This can be our tagline.
Material desires in the mind are the trash of material contamination. The trash of material contamination. By such contamination, the living being is faced with so many compatible and incompatible things that discourage the very existence of spiritual identity. Birth after birth, the conditioned soul is entrapped with so many pleasing and displeasing elements, which are all false and temporary. They accumulate due to our reactions to material desires. But when we get in touch with the Transcendental Lord in his variegated energies by devotional service, the naked form of all material desire become manifest. Let me read this again. They accumulate due to our reactions to material desires. But when we get in touch with the Transcendental Lord and his variegated energies by devotional service, the naked form of all material desires become manifest. And the intelligence of the living being is pacified in its true color. As soon as Arjuna turned his attention towards the instructions of the Lord as they are inculcated in the Bhagavad Gita, his true color of eternal association with the Lord became manifest, and thus he felt freed from all material contaminations.
So it looks like the naked form, we come face to face a practice of bhakti. We come face to face with so many of our naked material desires in a gross form, and sometimes even in our dreams we come face to face.
It's not easy. When we actually get to see, like we go through our entire life thinking, I'm okay. I'm good. I'm such a good person. I'm a kind-hearted, sensitive, wonderful person. I'm a good friend to everyone. I never desire any ill to anyone. And then, through the practice of bhakti, we get to see the mirror and we get to see ourselves and we are like, oh no, that's not me. So we do one of two things. We either then try to hide even more because it's so uncomfortable to see ourselves. Now we start hiding behind more mask of being a perfect devotee or a perfect this or a great this or a great that, right? So that's where sometimes as practitioners of spiritual life, we see that sometimes we can become quite hypocritical. That could be one way, or the other way is that we just succumb to it, succumb to our lower nature. So what's the way out of it? The way out of it is, again, the more we can associate with the devotees. That's how the anartha nivritti process becomes a lot easier. And what is that association of devotees? It's a space where we are accepted, where we can reveal our struggles and we can be accepted. And then we can then happily let those unnecessary burden just, be gone from us.
It becomes a lot easier to face our naked desires in the association of devotees rather than struggling with them alone.
Yeah. Alone, they take over us. But together, we can, we're able to overcome them by the mercy of the devotees.
Gitam bhagavata jnanam yattat sangrama murdhani kala karma tamoruddham punar adhyagamat prabhu.
Because of the Lord's pastimes and activities and because of his absence, it appeared that Arjuna forgot the instructions left by the personality of Godhead. But factually, this was not the case. And again, he became Lord of his senses.
So it looks like Gita also means instructions. You think of Bhagavad Gita as a song, but it also means the instructions of the Lord.
Nice.
Neetam, instructed.
Mm.
Vishoko Brahma Sampatya Sanchina Dvaita Samshaya Dina Prakriti Nirgunyat Alingatvat Asambhavaha.
Because of his possessing spiritual assets, the doubts of duality were completely cut off. Thus, he was freed from the three modes of material nature and placed in transcendence. There was no longer any chance of his becoming entangled in birth and death, for he was freed from material form. So this word Brahma Sampatya. Sampatya means wealth. Brahma means spiritual, right?
Yes.
So because of possessing, what is that spiritual asset that he possessed, as a result of which he became freed from the three modes of material nature?
I guess the spiritual assets is that his attachment to Krishna, his attachment to hearing about Krishna, and remembering Krishna's instructions. That is our Brahma Sampatya. And the opposite of that is the Dvaita Samshaya, right?
Yeah.
Dvaita Samshaya is the doubts of relativity. We are always doubtful about our existence, about our situation, about anything in this material world. Doubt. That's another prime characteristic of this material world, is doubt.
But Dvaita also means this misconception of this is me, this is mine, and this is you. And I think Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also talks about that doubts due to misconceptions about myself and mine. In other words, my body, my relatives, my property, my wife, my children, my wealth, my country, my community, and hundreds and thousands of similar illusory contemplations, they cause bewilderment for the conditioned soul. So
what we consider mine is actually not mine. When we see that, the naked form of that, then it really shakes us up.
Actually, as you were speaking, I suddenly had this aha moment, which is that all my miseries actually come from this place. Because I think whatever, like we can take any difficulty we are going through in life. Why am I experiencing grief around it? Because I think that this is mine. That's it. I worry about something. I worry about my son because my son is mine. I worry about my wealth because that's mine.
I worry about somebody else's wealth.
I worry about my body because that's mine. Right? That's like the root cause of all my anxieties and worries.
It's mine.
This mine. And the reality is it's not mine. And how do we know it's not mine? Because it can be taken away at any moment. And none of these things, actually, I was just talking to my mother earlier this morning, and she was saying, she said, after I die, whatever wealth, whatever assets someone may have, who's going to enjoy that? No one has any control over that. It may turn out that one of the people that you don't even like, they may enjoy, right? So it's not yours. This body is not ours. It's actually ultimately it's enjoyed by the ants and the vultures or whatever, right? Wherever it is, there'll be other entities. The child, he grows up, right? So it's like this is what our struggle for existence is, claiming our proprietorship and finding that claim to be frustrated. Something to think about, contemplate. But hey, it's deep rooted.
Dvaita Samshaya.
Dvaita Samshaya.
And what was Brahma Sampatya?
Brahma Sampatya.
So getting rid of Dvaita Samshaya and acquiring Brahma Sampatya. That's what we are about. This whole path of bhakti is about
becoming free of these.
Nishamya Bhagavan Margam Sanstham Yadukulasya Cha Swa Pathaya Matim Chakre Nibhritatma Yudhishthiraha.
Upon hearing of Lord Krishna's returning to his abode and upon understanding the end of the Yadu dynasty's earthly manifestation, Maharaj Yudhishthira decided to go back home, back to Garud. What a decision. Hey, all of us here, can we make the same decision?
We don't have to wait for something at a certain point like this drastic as this. Krishna has already left. So just like Maharaj Yudhishthira made the decision when he found out, we also know that Krishna has left this planet 5,000 years ago. So I guess this decision can be made as soon as we become aware of ourselves.
And it also shows that there is a decision to make. Yeah. That also means that the ball is in our court.
Yeah. Yes.
The ball is in our court. And it's something like, I remember one time Vaisheshika Prabhu was saying, he said, we can have a sheet, a sign up sheet,
Mm.
and we say signed out. Just like on Facebook, you can log out, right? So you can say, I sign out.
No mass.
No mass, like sign out, no more, and that's a decision that we can make.
Mm.
And that gives us so much of freedom, and we can take a stand. And it is described that as soon as a living entity makes a decision like that, then all the great sages and all the resources of this universe, they all come to assist that person to be able to cross over.
So I guess just making the decision is actually 90% the job done, because to come to that point, the whole material world is designed in such a way to frustrate us so that we can make that decision, come to the point, okay, no more. So as soon as we make that decision, this is what Krishna has been waiting for life after life, that when will this person make this decision?
So we want to, honestly, I guess, if those of you who want to make this decision, maybe you can use the reaction button there, and, let's see, what you think about it. Do you think you want to make this decision?
Or you need some more time?
Or you need some more time, and both are fine. Just two of us, I think, so far. Sapna, okay. It's still not a majority, but good enough.
Or even if you want to consider making that decision.
Yeah, even if you want to consider making that decision.
That's good.
And that's very good. That's very good. So yeah, we're on a journey together in that case. So we'll pause here and then see reflections or comments or things that you want to add to this conversation.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes, Bhuvaneshwari.
So just tell us more. You make that decision and then how do you implement it?
Such a good question. Such a good question, Bhuvaneshwari. So yeah, the first thing is, there is a whole process of bhakti. It's like a GPS that's been laid out, and there are all these milestones. The first milestone is Shraddha. Shraddha means that you have this tiny little bit of faith that, there is something of value in these books. So many people in this world, when they hear about a gathering where somebody's talking about spiritual life, they go, who is interested? Who cares about that? Who knows? But, for someone to take out the time and to actually come and hear means that there is some Shraddha. And then the next step of that Shraddha is that then you seek out those that are actually walking on that path, which means sadhu sangha, which means association of those who have sadhu-like propensities. And then from there, what happens is that's the most significant stage, which is the bhajana kriya, which means that you pick up the practices of bhajan. So what are those practices of bhajan? It is daily keep allotting oneself a certain number of rounds or the names of Krishna that we chant. And we make that like a discipline, like a sadhana, just like in music practice. You say, okay, I'm going to practice every day for so much time. So in the same way, this is a discipline. And so you chant every day, you hear the Srimad Bhagavatam every day, you offer so there are certain practices of bhakti that are very beneficial. And then from that, you go to the next level, which is anartha nivritti, which is what Prabhupada's talking about, by the way, where you come face to face with your conditioning. And then you have the opportunity to actually overcome that conditioning and then become situated in your purest self without the covering. It's called the stage of nishtha or steady bhakti. And then from there, it's all excitement. Because from there, you go to bhava and prema, which are the stages where you experience all kinds of ecstatic symptoms and you experience the sweetest ecstasies of bhakti. So there is a whole process, Bhuvaneshwari, which has been laid out, and you can learn that.
Thank you, Mataji. Wish me luck and bless me that, at least I take my small little baby step in that direction.
Oh, wonderful. You're already on the path. So thank you. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Kavita
Yes,
here.
Kavita.
Yeah. From yesterday and today, I feel, frankly, like the way we are going, the pace, I feel I'm not able to catch up. Like I cannot think unless you study before and come to the class. And I was not able to do this. Only that self-internalization process happens. And I just wanted to tell the way I have gone through till now. Like from 2017, I'm attending classes, but in between I came back to US here, and there was a break, and that was the separation from my teacher. That's what I was going through, and I was connected to another group where I'm continuing the process, but still the connectivity of the first teacher I was missing maybe.
Hmm.
So that I don't know how much, like how long you take to make that decision and continue, and the problems in between which comes, and what is the continuity. Today I got little bit like chanting Shraddha and all the points what we are in the journey, but what is the time like limit? I don't know, like is there any uh, far sure that now you are ready and you can continue and you can take up the classes, and yeah, like so many things were going on in my head.
I guess I'll try to respond to the best of my ability. I'm not sure. We can talk offline as well, but yes, I mean, what is the surety? It's just like Maharaj Yudhishthir, he makes a decision and he says, well, I do want to connect with Krishna. I want to go back to the spiritual world. I want to overcome my material conditioned nature. So these are things that we can make a decision, and we start, and we make an effort, and we stay dedicated, and we must also expect that we will go through ups and downs. That's just a part of it. It's not a linear process. Sometimes we may feel very enthusiastic, and at other times we may feel a little maybe not so inspired, or maybe even dry spells where we don't experience any taste. But the main thing in this is to use, that's why we are purifying our intelligence, because our heart right now is unstable. Right now, our heart is not very steady. That's called, there's a word for that it's called Hriday Durbalyam, which means that it fluctuates. But what we are doing by studying these books is that we are purifying our intelligence. So even when the heart goes here and there, we can bring the mind or the intelligence back to it and say, this is why. And hence the need for a dedicated practice. Because one day I may feel like doing it, next day I may not feel like doing it, but I just stick to it. And I hear from those that have been in it for some time and ask them that, does it work? And they'll tell you whether it works or not. And then that develops your confidence that, yeah, I've seen this person doing it, and I see that this person is able to or has this taste. And then that inspires us in turn, and then we just continue. And then we start seeing it for ourselves. Anyone who's been practicing, they can attest, and they'll tell you that how their life, what they are free of, and what they're experiencing. So it's a practical science. So I don't know if that's kind of what you were, getting to, Kavita, but
Yeah, so I have like started, like I was in Gita class, like memorizing. I am in this spiritual process, but maybe I am doing more or less, or the commitment what I'm going through, I feel like taking
okay.
up the classes and trying to explain, and that commitment, and in between the ups and downs are happening, and
Okay.
I don't know the overall view, and I'm
Okay.
not able to see myself like where I stand sometimes.
Okay, so let's talk about this offline. We
Yeah,
have
sure.
we have phone. So let's, after today, like maybe after the class or something, we'll speak on the phone, and then
Yeah,
I can I can address a little bit better, because then I would know the specifics.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Krishna
Anybody
Mataji,
else? Yes, Anita.
I'm Anita. Yeah, I would like to mention that I'm following. It's really a lot that we are learning from here, and the biggest thing I got is that when we have Krishna, we need nothing. Sometimes in
Mm,
life, I mean, being human, like I want this, I want that. But the biggest thing I've noticed, as you've mentioned, is that we are all souls. We are not the person. And our
mm,
souls, right now, we are connected to someone like someone is my parent, someone is my friend. But these things will go, they are temporary. And if we just remember Krishna, it will go. It takes time to forget that the material, the connections, attachments. It's a very big task. Sometimes when I'm hurt, I'm tired, everything, it takes time to get out of that. But
yeah.
the more I try to do, the better it gets. I don't know how to keep at it.
Yeah, and I think that's, we just, what we are doing right now. It's powerful.
Yeah, just chanting every day, chanting Krishna's names every day, making that as a part of your core practice, and then hearing Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita in the association of devotees. And those two things, if you can continue, you'll keep making more and more progress.
Yeah, we should not. The mind has a nature of going in a loop. That's the nature of the mind. It has this, sort of, loopy, thing to it. So as long as we just keep it very simple, bhakti is very, very simple. It simply means come together, hear about Krishna, chant his names, be in the association of devotees, and then you'll automatically, as you keep progressing, you'll see the transformation. I think I saw somebody else's hand.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, Amrita, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to share my experience, in this, since I started this process. I kept like wondering if, if I was making progress and, how it was actually changing me. But just recently I noticed that, that whenever, like I come across, any person I'm talking to, and Krishna's name comes up. So if it comes up in a positive way, it makes me really happy. But if it comes up in a not so positive way, then it starts, I kind of feel bad about it. So I wondered like why that happens. And then I realized like that, when you are very close to someone, you feel like, you feel happy when it's, when someone's praising them, and you feel sad, or it affects you when someone is not praising them.
Nice.
So I realized that the process actually is like us getting closer and closer, and then you feel this feeling of someone who's very dear to you.
Such a beautiful point, Amrita. That the glorification makes you happy.
Anything positive about Krishna makes you happy. You start thinking, this is mine, Krishna is mine.
Yeah, just like if somebody glorified your body, said you have beautiful eyes.
Or our children.
Or our children.
Yeah.
We feel so happy. So yes, Delia, go ahead.
Thinking about how my journey and development has been in Bhakti, I found that my desire doesn't always match my ability to carry out the practices that I would like to carry out. Like if I committed, I want to get to 16 rounds eventually, but if I tried to do it this week, I know I would fail because I'm not there yet. But it's funny because I found that like whatever it is that I'm able to do, like my desire to approach Krishna wherever I'm at right now increases my capacity to carry out those practices. And then those practices increases my desire. And so then I desire to do more things. And then, it's kind of like this weird kind of seesaw stepping ladder. Yeah.
That's so beautiful, Delia. That's so nice. Yeah, it's exactly like that.
Krishna is like the Matsya avatar, fish incarnation. When he appears as a small fish, and then he increases in size and increases in size and increases in size. All we have to do is stay close to the fire.
Actually, I was just thinking.
And not worry too much about, I'm not there yet, or I have to do this and I have to do that. Just be gentle. This is a relationship. You can't force a relationship to go faster or slower. You just go with the flow, and Krishna is patient. So it's not that we'll frustrate him if we don't get to some point. Krishna is not about that. It's about becoming attached to him. So whatever works for us in this stage, and as you're saying very beautifully, it will grow. It will naturally grow.
Yeah, as you were speaking, I was thinking that Matsya Avatar. So Matsya Avatar, the king brings the fish and puts him in a small container.
Yeah.
And then the fish grows, and then he has to replace that small container into a big container. So it's like that. We are bringing Krishna into the small container of our heart.
Yeah.
And then as Krishna expands, then we realize that our heart is too small to accommodate this. So then we have to expand our heart.
Krishna will say, I don't fit in here. Give me a bigger place.
Give me a bigger. So we are forced to expand our heart. Then we expand, and then Krishna grows more. And then so our heart keeps expanding. Right? And finally, our heart will become all expansive. And that's the meaning of the word Mahatma, actually. Mahatma means one whose heart is completely expanded. It's, expansive. And that's where Krishna can reside.
And then Krishna and everybody else can reside also.
Everyone can reside, yeah. All right. So, Rachna.
हरे कृष्णा माता जी, हरे
Hare
कृष्णा
Krishna.
प्रभु जी।
Hare Krishna.
आपने उसका आंसर दे दिया जो मेरे मन में था, पहला क्वेश्चन जो पूछा था कि कृष्ण के पास जाने का रास्ता क्या है। युधिष्ठिर तो उठ के चले गए थे और उसका दे दिया, बट क्या होता है जब हम अकेले रहते हैं, जैसे आप अमेरिका में हैं, मैं यहाँ हूँ, पुणे में हूँ, मेरी फैमिली दूसरे सिटी में है, तो जैसे आपकी इंडिया में, बट क्या होता है जब आपका जाने का प्रोग्राम हो और वो कैंसिल हो जाए, तो मन जब वो जाने को होता है तो सारी चीजें ऐसा लगता है, अरे ये वो, और मतलब बहुत सारी चीजें, अच्छे अच्छे थॉट्स, और जब मन एकदम से फिर नहीं, जैसे नहीं जा पाए, तो मन वापस से फिर उदास हो जाता है। तो मतलब हम कृष्ण की तरफ जाते हैं, क्वेश्चन का मतलब वो है कृष्ण की तरफ जाते हैं, बट बीच में ये जो सांसारिक बंधन जो हावी हो जाते हैं दिमाग पे, और जो, तो उन सब से कैसे, मतलब वो अभी जैसे मैं यहाँ हूँ, पुणे में हूँ, मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगता है, मैं डेली ही सुनती हूँ आपको और चैंटिंग करती हूँ, बट अगर मैं वहां चली गई तो वो मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम कभी ससुराल की वजह से, कभी मायके की वजह से, कभी लोगों की वजह से वो छूट 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 भी सकता है, मीन्स कि अरे तुम मतलब आए नहीं, तो वो सारी चीजें एक, मतलब हम जाना चाहते हैं उस रास्ते पे, बट वो समझ में नहीं आ रहा मैं क्या
I got the question. Very nice question, actually. Her question is that, we have a desire to go to Krishna, just like Maharaj Yudhishthir has a desire to go. He is able to just walk up and just go. But for ourselves, even though, I'm just repeating what she said, that even though I like coming to the class and I love chanting and I love all that and I want to go to Krishna, but suppose right now I'm in this city and I'm able to do it, but suppose if I leave this place and go elsewhere, then maybe my parents' house or in-laws' house, or maybe my in-laws will say, forget it, don't do it, or some other friends. So there are all these forces that are continuously pulling us in so many different directions. So how do you stay fixed and how do you stay on the course?
I guess the first step is
मन को भी कैसे समझाएं?
The mind, actually, more than anything else, it's the mind that takes us in so many different directions. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying the first step is to feel that separation. That okay, in certain situations, I'm not able to do it, and therefore I'm feeling this separation from Krishna. That is the first step. So you are already feeling that. You're already in anxiety about that. Hey, if I go in this situation, it might interrupt my association with devotees, or it might interrupt my chanting. All of us go through that. I've gone through that, and the second step is to then you'll have the desire. Okay, I don't want to go through this. I want to maintain my chanting. I want to maintain my hearing and all that. So then what will happen is you will work out something in your schedule. You'll work out your life in such a way that you are able to do that. And also at the same time accommodating the needs of your family members, because you can't get too far by just constantly kind of confronting them, right? You have to become maybe extra nice or work it, right?
Yeah, I think it requires, first of all, taking a stand, determination. I think Rupa Goswami talks about this, right? He says that there are three things that are required for success in bhakti: utsaha, nishchaya, dhairyat. So utsaha means great enthusiasm, which we have right now, right? And we are saying, yeah, we all want to perfect our life, overcome this material nature, and reconnect with Krishna. So that enthusiasm is there. But even with all that enthusiasm, if we don't have the nishchaya means complete determination, that come hail, come storm. Just like, you see some people when they are really into something, like suppose someone's really into golf, even before they go somewhere, they'll find out where is the closest golf course. Or if someone's addicted to, say, alcohol, they'll find out where's the nearest bar. So they're already thinking ahead and planning ahead, organizing their life in such a way. Like, for example, when sometimes we've had to go to India and attend marriages. So then we start planning beforehand that, there'll be a marriage, there might be some disruption in the schedule. So how can what are we going to do? How are we going to still make sure we chant our designate, like, whatever number of rounds that we want to chant? So then we'll organize our life in such a way that maybe we'll wake up like 2 hours early before anyone else has woken up. And then we'll make sure. So it requires determination followed by intelligence and organization. And then you can do it. That's how wars are fought and won, is when you have to plan and strategize that how I'm going to make
just
this happen.
Reverse engineer the situation, anticipate, reverse engineer, plan, adjust, and again.
And be flexible.
Be flexible.
At the same
so
time.
Maybe you'll not be able to say, for example, you wake up in the morning and one of your family members comes and wants to spend time with you. And you can't just say, okay, go away. This is my. So you may have to spend time with them, and then find out some other time, maybe not in one chunk, maybe half an hour, 20 minutes, and then you have to be flexible and adjust. But
and sometimes you may also be able to tell your family members that, can I talk to you after an hour and a half or 1 hour or whatever, So you'll have to just feel it. But it all stems from this one-pointed, single-pointed determination.
Because when they see your determination, they will also adjust around you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, I think it's 10:49. So.
10:49. Thank you so much.